'Cause you're here.
Are strangers dangerous? Let's find out, because today I'll be reviewing The Strangers Chapter 1, the newest kind of film in the Strangers franchise. Before we get started on this review, though, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel. I'm on the road to 700 subscribers. It's free to do so, helps you out a lot. I'm going to give you guys a quick plot synopsis just so you know what the movie is about. After their car breaks down in an eerie small town, a young couple is forced to spend the night in a remote cabin. Panic ensues as they are terrorized by three masked strangers who strike with no mercy and seemingly no motive. So this is actually my first ever Strangers film, because I know that I think there is two other ones. I think it's just the one of them is called Strangers, and the second one I think is called Strangers Pray at Night. That's all I know. If there is more, let me know, because I will actually be tuning in and watching those after this. But this is all new to me. I just went into this from watching the first trailer, because there only was one trailer, which was interesting to see. I watched it and I was like, oh, that trailer looks pretty good. I think I even did reaction, because these killers are kind of silent killers just going around hunting for these people in this house. And one of the things that really got me from this trailer was, one of the characters being like, why are you doing this? Why are you trying to hurt us? And one of the killers is like, because you're here. And I'm like, ooh, that's kind of interesting. It's an interesting way to look at things. And I'm like, what? It still isn't a great reason to do it, but go off at that point. But I just went into it expecting, honestly, I had really bad expectations, even though I did enjoy the trailer, but I was hoping for a decent time. And that's what I kind of got. It's a decent horror movie, which we've had many of those this year so far. It's nothing, great or tremendous like the first Omen, but I did enjoy myself. So, I see people on Twitter, calling this the worst movie of the year, one of the worst movies of the year. And I'm like, no. It's not one of the worst movies of the year. If you think so, you have not seen enough movies this year, and you have not seen enough movies in your life, because I'll direct you to some movies that are much worse than this movie this year. Unfrosted, Madam Web, Megamind 2. Those kind of movies are much worse than this, and some people on Twitter have said that this is worse than Madam Web, and that's just a flat out lie. Like, honestly, I can't even sit through Madam Web again. This one I could probably watch like 2 more times. Well, probably, when it hits digital and all that. It's not really a movie that I'll go back to and watch again in theaters, but it's one that I don't really have an issue with watching again on digital. Just having a night with my friends and all that, just trying to chill, find a, sick horror movie to watch that would make the time pass. And I think that this one does it with this. But I will say that this one, before we get into my other thoughts, I will say I like what they did with the budget. I think it's only an $8.5 million budget, which horror movies, they do well with their budgets. Horror movies make a good horror movie with a small budget, so their break-even point is going to be so low. This movie, I think, is going to easily break even, easily make a decent amount of profit. So good for them with not inflating the budget. Whenever people make a horror movie, they know not to inflate the budget. So that's why horror is like the most profitable genre at this point. But I feel like the main issue with this movie lies with the title. You see how it's called The Strangers Chapter 1? Yeah, it's a chapter 1, so you're going to end on the cliffhanger here. Everyone knows that, and I honestly have no idea where they're going to take this story from here. Do stay to the end credits if you watch this movie. They do show another scene, so do stay there. But it feels like this could have been, maybe a longer movie, like maybe like a 2.5 kind of horror movie, and just stuff all 3 kind of stories in here. Or just 2 movies, because maybe I see where they're going with the second movie, but I don't understand how they're gonna, drag this story out for 3 movies, another 2 movies. I understand maybe one more, but another one after that, that feels a little far-fetched for me, because I just have no idea where they're going to take it. Because we talked about this on Movie News. We have a second chapter coming out later this year, and the third chapter coming out early 2025. And I heard that they're maybe doing a 4-hour cut in the theater, which I was like, just give me the 4-hour cut in one movie, please. I would have actually loved that. I've never seen a 4-hour horror movie, or just maybe make a 2.5-hour one movie. That could have been really cool for me, but I think they're doing that for money, because this movie's going to make a decent amount of profit, and I could see the next 2 making even more profit when people discover this. But it also bothered me how slow this movie was at times, because it took a while to get going, and took a while for them to get to that cabin that they're in the trailer. I was like, we got to move it just a little bit faster here, because it wasn't boring in a sense that I wanted to leave. It was just slow in a sense where I get why. I understand you're just dragging this out now for 3 chapters, trying to drag this first movie out just so you can get to that second chapter for maybe a little more action. So I see what they're doing with dragging it out, and I did feel that drag to get to those other two movies. And this movie has basically two main stars, two main kind of characters here. They kind of get to this town, and there's other people in this town, but they're not really main characters. These people in this town are kind of sus, though. They keep looking at the two main characters like they have sticks up their ass or something. I don't know what was up to those people and what they're who the killers are, because you don't know who the killers are here. It's not really a spoiler. You're not going to find out in this movie, even if you go see it. So maybe it's one of the people in the town, but why would they do it? I don't know. They even said in the movie, it's just because you're here. But what kind of response is that? But one of the main stars is Madeline Petch. I think that's how you're saying her name. She's known mostly for being in the Riverdale for too long, because we all know that Riverdale went on for too long, because that show became a serious joke after like season 3. They included like magic, like some weird stuff in that show. They finally ended it though, so she's finally out of that. But I thought that she kind of carried the movie for me, and I kind of felt her fear through the screen, because she kind of is in the movie for the most part compared to her co-star. And I did like a lot of her scenes here. She has one moment that really reminded me of The Quiet Place that includes a nail. That's all I say. I don't want to get too into that, but yeah, I thought that she really did a great job in selling the fear that her character was going through, so I thought she carried it here. But the other co-star here was Roy Gutierrez. Not a terrible performance by him, just nothing that I really took away from and was really impressed with, probably because his character really didn't do anything, and he had asthma. So what could he really do at this point? Man was struggling to breathe for half the movie because he kept forgetting his inhaler. I was like, bro, you should be dead by now. And there's one scene where he should have died, but they just didn't do it. And there's one scene where he could have killed one of the killers, but they're like, for plot circumstances, he's not going to shoot the gun. And I'm like, what? It's so annoying. But yeah, I wasn't really impressed by his character. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the two main characters of the movie, two main stars. And this movie is kind of built on suspense. It's kind of a suspenseful horror movie because as I said, there isn't a lot of action here. And what I really want to give it props for is its use of suspense and wondering what will happen next, because it's not built on too many jump scares like some movies, but it does have a couple jump scares in the movie. Like every horror movie has some jump scares. This one is not built too much on that, and it's built on kind of the silence and that fear of what could be around the next corner. And it needed that, because there isn't a lot of action, as I said, in this first chapter, which could annoy some, but for me the suspense worked. Hopefully there's more action in the next two movies, but I'll take suspense over terrible jump scares and terrible action, just like when I saw Tarot 2 weeks ago. That was a terrible movie. If people like Tarot more than this, I'll be like, I can't talk to you. That's just a terrible opinion. But overall, my first Strangers film was decent. I disagree with others saying it's one of the worst movies of the year, worse than Madam Web. I think that's just a blatant lie. I don't think it's terrible. Maybe when I see the other Strangers films, maybe I'll go lower on this film. But it's a movie that I kind of enjoyed at times, but I thought that it had pacing issues and it's slow to get going. But I love the suspense, and I love how they built it up during the film. But I don't know how they're going to continue this story for two more films. It just is something that will not wrap around my brain. But also, I'm actually going to say I'm excited for the next chapter later this year. So The Strangers Chapter 1, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. It's a decent film. Nothing that I think is truly great or really good, but it's a film that I can watch. Like a lot of other horror movies are just built around this 6 score, a pretty decent score for the movie. So yeah, there's a lot of great suspenseful moments. I thought it was decent. But if you saw Strangers Chapter 1, leave your thoughts down below in the comments. I'd love to discuss it with you. If you did enjoy my review, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel. As I said, we're on the road to 700 subscribers. It's free to do so, but I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.